Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of I Am Legion for Dying Light 1 and 2. My name is Jason the Creator, and I wanted to reach out and share with you guys another major update that has happened today. So a lot of hours went into the mod today to try to update and prepare it for some of the new and upcoming content, and with that, the companions have now been added to the official main gameplay. They are easy access for those of you who are Patreon supporters. Again, thank you guys so much. We've had a couple of additional members join the Patreon the last couple of days, so thank you guys so much for that. I appreciate it. So I wanted to try to put in a little bit more time and energy into these companions. They now move around the world pretty freely and do keep up pretty well with the player. One of the big focuses here is that before, what I was doing was actually spawning these companions into the world. What I'm doing now is actually using them the same way that I did with the PK reinforcements. So the idea is that you'll throw a beacon down on the ground. After you throw down that beacon, it will then summon your companion to your location, and then he'll follow you through the extent of his life. They are fairly simple right now in the sense that their main goal and objective is to keep up with the player. I have a couple of ideas that I've been testing on how to give them commands and give them specific actions. Those didn't work out as well as I had hoped. And so for now, they are still very simple, but they will follow you across the world and keep up with your movement. You do have to kind of wait for them or you will lose them. This is due mainly to the nav mesh. So as you can see here, this is basically with his abilities to follow the player turned all the way on. They will keep a certain distance to the player, so the hope here is that they'll continue to interact with the world and actually go out and explore the world in a certain area while you continue to do what you need to do, and then they'll keep trying to catch up as you move away. So hopefully this will keep them from being in the way, but rather just kind of in the environment. If they do start to mess up and get in your path, you can actually just execute them. For now, I have not created the code to actually send them away yet. So in the meantime, if you just want to execute them, you can, especially if they're like blocking a quest doorway and that kind of thing. But as you continue to move away, once you get past a certain distance, they will probably deactivate. This is different from my earlier approach where I was spawning them into the world, and when you spawn them into the world, they would just kind of persistently stay in that area. The reason I went away from this approach is because they pretty much would stick in that area for the foreseeable future. I mean, they have some amazing code in here for the system that I've been accessing, which I'm going to use for base building. I mean, that's a huge benefit for the base building, but as far as getting these NPCs in here and the companions, I felt like that level of persistence was just a little bit too much, because wherever you spawn them in the world, they'll always continue to go back to that spot. And if you start to summon more than one, you end up with an entire area filled with NPCs, and so this should help keep this a lot cleaner. So as you move throughout the world, as you can see, he was not able to make it up here. Sometimes they'll rejoin you. I've had them pop up out of nowhere and come and rejoin me, but it looks like I did manage to lose him by going into that base. So if I want to summon him again, I just need to go and throw that beacon. Oh, there he is. And so once I throw that beacon, he will show back up in that area. I have noticed that in some areas, especially near bases, if you throw the beacon down, it won't show a noise icon indicator, and that means that it did not work properly. So you will have to throw another one down in order to get them to arrive. So this is where I'm using noise events to call in that ally. So let me show you guys the meat and potatoes of what was updated. So this is a half mix between an update for everyone and then also a major update for the Patreon supporters. So if you are a Patreon supporter, what that gives you access to, and then I'm also going to show this here because I can talk to you guys about some of the content for the game. So luckily I figured out a way to do this in the code because I was actually going line by line, I was going item by item and having to spawn those things into the world and do testing. That was taking forever. And so what I've set up for the Patreons are different assets that they can spawn into the world. So as you go down in your stash, I've tried to organize this a lot cleaner than it was on that first initial release. So essentially in the top tier, anything that is platinum tier will be things like play the zombie, and then different outfits for the player along with the actual base building. So I have gone through and updated the base building a good amount. And so I'm going to actually go ahead and start there and show you guys some of those new features. I did include, so there are 4 new ones. So that first initial discussion yesterday on the video did not go as smooth as I had hoped. And so I went through today and updated that quite a bit. But basically the idea is, cautionary tale here, just heads up, these do not despawn. You cannot currently remove these. So if you do decide to use these new assets, please be aware, please back up your save games. They're not that intense, it's not that big of a deal, but in the case that you do not want these in the world anymore, that's why I have not released this fully yet, is because I'm still looking for a way to go in here and actually make cleanup more readily available. So let's go ahead and drop down, and actually for fun, let's go to one of the bases really quick. And maybe we'll jump back to the original bases. I kind of want to keep my stash handy here. We'll travel in and out. I think actually that one's torn down. So let's say, let's just say for shits and giggles that we wanted to go and try to reinforce this base. So say we were trying to turn an area into a more fortified base, and this area is an area that keeps getting raided. This would be a little bit easier to see if we actually had an example like the Metro base. If we had the Metro, then you would see that they were that enemies were closer, and so because of that, you know, it would make more sense to do reinforcements there. But again, just to show off kind of the concept, you'll get the idea. We're going to go in here and make this to where if anybody comes up these stairs, as you can see, this is a main base, but for some reason it's not very well fortified. So this is super simple right now. Eventually I'm going to try to update this to where it will require things like generators and that kind of thing. But for example, we just want to go right here to the top of the stairwell and drop that glow stick. You can see here we now have a UV light, a working UV light that will work at the top of these stairs. As they come up the stairs and walk past, they will now have to travel past that UV light. And so this should do a good job of bringing down the zombies as they make their way up this escalator. So to test this out, let's go try this. And we'll do one here at the bottom as well. And so you can see here now as we travel through the city, if they try to actually make it into this one area of the base, the light will take them down. The radius is going to be a lot closer here. So if you enjoy farming and that kind of thing, you can actually set some of these things up. I've doubled down and tried to make that a little bit more fun for you guys. So again, this is currently Patreon supporter content only. This will be coming to the general populace here in the future once I have base building to an area that I feel more comfortable releasing it broad. So here we go. For example, this is one of my favorite ones from The Walking Dead. That scene where they're heading down the street, and I forget what his name is, but he's set up all those different traps. So if we go here, you can actually set up some fun burn barrels here. Your AI can't actually traverse the stairs very well, but say we want to go in here and set up a little trap. And it is really weird how sometimes it does detect it and sometimes it doesn't. But let's go ahead and set up kind of an entrance area here, if you will. So as they walk through the world, they have to get past the barrels, and then if they get past the barrels, then they have to get by the UV lights. So this would effectively take out a majority of the zombies that are going to be approaching your base. So if you want to go through and have fun, that way if the base is under attack, you can very easily go up here and knock them into these barrels and continue to knock back these forces and continue to farm and loot your base, or loot right around your base. So that's kind of the concept. Next, another one to show off here. So I'm not sure if we have enough room for this one, but we'll go ahead and swap out these barrels here for the all-in-one. So I showed off this one the other day, but it was not done very well. So I'm going to make sure you guys get the idea here. But basically, if we wanted to go out here and make this to where, okay, so I'm starting up a new base. This is a new base area. I really want to try to take over this region and make this more interesting. Looks like one of the zombies did get by there. But okay, so this is my new base. Go here, drop this. That didn't place very well, but here's my new stash. So from now on, I don't have to travel back to the base to access my stash. It'll just show up here. Again, currently I don't have a way of rotating these objects. That's one of the other reasons that I have not gone and released this fully. But hopefully here in the future, I'll figure out a way to make that a little bit more fun so I could actually place that on this crate long-wise. So then we've set up our stash. So let's go ahead and set up our base as well. So we're actually going to jump over here and we'll set it up right about here. I don't know if this is going to be enough room or not. It is. Perfect. So then we have our little safe zone activate here. Currently, I've got some things I still need to get set up and moved around for this animation to work properly, but we crank this up. Basically, the idea is that at night, this UV light turns on. You can see got these guys still kind of roaming around. Where's Spike? I thought that was actually Spike, but I guess Spike is over here. Yeah, he's still just hanging out. So we've set this up so this base is actually now turned on. So this is base by proximity, right? So you can see here, this is the error that some people have been reporting inside of the different safe zones. You can see the closer you get to that UV light, the easier that gets. And then let me show you guys. So if we go in here and let's take this global UV light, we'll throw that down. And you can see now we actually have more coverage. So you can actually sleep anywhere. So you don't have to worry about whether or not there's enough room. And this works with the bases that are already in the world. So if you have a base that you've been going to that has issues with sleeping, now you have a way to sleep at that base. I have been continuing to work on that bug, and hopefully I'll get that software here soon. There's something very interesting with the way that they have the actual water tower set up. Once they've been fully upgraded, they're using code that doesn't seem to be available. And so because of that, it's been a little bit more challenging trying to get that set up. But let's go ahead in here and say, okay, so we've set up our base, our little area. Say we want to set down another little stash as well. So now I have my stash, I have my bed, and everything I want to do from here, I can actually just set up and go from here. So this is my new little base area, and I now have a base inside the city. Okay. So let me show you guys some of the other things I've been setting up. So as I mentioned, companions are now working. As you can see, Spike's been a great sport and just been kind of hanging out with me here. But there are other ones as well. So we currently have Lawan, we have Hakon, and I've created 2 generic survivors. So if you go inside, and again, this is if you're accessing it as a Patreon. So if we go in here, the purple section is going to be for actual everything that spawns. So you have a companion bundle. If you unpack that companion bundle, you'll get Hakon, you'll get Spike, you get Lawan, you'll get the scavenger bow and the scavenger melee. You can just throw those on the ground just like you will with the melee or with the PK reinforcements. And then I also have a new exciting one for all my Patreon supporters. I actually have quite a few things that I'm releasing today, but hopefully you guys will like this as well. So if we go in here and we do the spawn test, let me actually make sure, there we go. I had this horrifying moment where it looked like my mic was muted. If we do this spawn testing bundle, hit redeem. I've actually gone through and set this up. So this has been requested a couple of times on the Nexus, specifically by one user in particular who really wanted to see this happen. But I went ahead and set this up so that you guys can start to have more fun. So not only can you come summon different companions, you can also bring in different NPC groups into the world as well. So if we wanted to get the Renegades, the Colonels, my custom I Am Legion zombies, the Survivors, regular zombies, my new Chemical and Venom volatiles, which I think some people have not actually seen those yet. So I'll make sure to go ahead and spawn those as well. Those have been added, and we're going to go ahead and use our little base here to go to sleep. So the idea here is, and at least the hope is that as the world starts to kind of become more repetitive, maybe you guys want to go and actually set up your own little fight zones and your own little intense conflicts outside in the world. So check out our new little base entrance. I love it. But let's say we wanted to go in here and make this a little bit more interesting. So we go in here and say, first, let's get some challenges off in the distance there. So let's get rid of this and let's say my new zombies as well. And then maybe only one or two of these chemical ones, because once those kick, it's going to get rough. But we'll go ahead and say, let's throw these off in the distance here. You can see it's kind of spawning them in the distance. So we can actually fill up the map here with all sorts of zombies if we want. So this also kind of goes back to the whole concept of like base raids. So if you actually want to go and set up kind of a raid on a base, you can actually do that now. And these are my more custom zombies. So these are the ones, these are going to be the fresh dead and the night walkers and all the new ones that I'll be releasing. I also have the child zombies out here as well. So let's go and then let's go ahead and call in some reinforcements. So let's say we then want to hold back the horde here and see what it would take. Let's call out our survivors. They're going to die pretty quick. And we'll also have PK ready if we need them. Here. Yeah, pretty good there. There's our survivors have just spawned in. And then let's go ahead and get some PK out here as well and get them fighting. And more than likely for some of these zombies that have been spawning in, some of this, they still have this weird LOD issue in the game where it's not quite activating some of these guys. So we're just going to do a quick run around really quick and wake up everybody off here in the distance. So you can see all of our zombies. They're definitely awake now. So the horde is coming. Go ahead and call in another wave of PK. And let's go ahead and get our volatiles, our new volatiles out here. So a couple of people have not seen these yet. A couple of people mistake them for some of the more basic volatiles. So what I'll do is I'll first I'll spawn the regular or the new ones, and then I'll show you guys what it looks like with the regular, so that you guys can see the difference here. It's also with how they move. So let's go ahead and get the new guys out here. As you can see, we've got quite a bit of variation now in the height as well. And you can't even see the venom ones because they're jet black. So, and as you can see, they do a ton of damage. So if you see these guys out in the world, just know that you should probably leave these guys alone. But you can't see the venom ones at all. They're out there, but they're just jet black. And that's kind of the idea. Crap, I gotta stay alive here. But these chemical volatiles and venom volatiles do the most damage of any volatile in the game. They are very, very difficult to kill, and so they will wipe out your base very quickly. So it's a good way to kind of test how well your armor and everything is balanced, I guess, to continue to try to see how difficult the game is or how difficult you can continue to make the game, rather. It's like they're making pretty short work of everyone. All right, and then this is our Venom. Let me get down here and see if I can light him up really quick. And then I'm probably going to die immediately, but that is our Venom volatile. Oof. Let's see if I can get back. Oh no! Not sure what happened there. So as you can see, kind of a cool new feature that you can use to make the world a little bit more fun. Sometimes I do get a respawn bug, so you can see here that there is a respawn bug. So what I'll probably do before I publish this is turn this off. But the idea here is that a lot of this is based on the code that once I disable the actual a lot of these different spawn points around the world and make it to where you have to build your bases and move them further out, a lot of that will include going out and setting up bases that you'll respawn at. So you won't automatically just respawn at this nearest base right down the road. You'll actually be forced to go back to some of the bigger bases. But that's still a work in progress and something I'm going to continue to work on. So let's get these other volatiles out here, and then also if I've got some, let's deploy. View lamps quickly. Gonna need them. But in this way, you could go in here and actually start to upgrade your base. But we have a couple of new basic ones. So we have the ash volatiles, which are actually the ones that you're seeing here. They do glow. They have this ash-like appearance, and they glow underneath of it. And then we've got, looks like that was our basic one. I've also changed the scale, so you can see here we have a good variation of scale as well. So you can actually have a lot bigger volatiles as well. Hope that creeps some of you guys out as you're crawling through the world. Let's get a couple more out here so you can see the different variations here. That's our mud variant. Here's the one that's messed with the Banshee Hag. You can see those stripes on them. And then there's two variants here. One is the mud covered, and then one is actually like dirt covered. And you can see here that one looks like he's been covered with like dirt, and one looks like he's slick, like he's covered in mud. And then this is the actual ash volatile as well. Personally, I love these guys. I'm probably going to continue to try to look at a way to make their percentages a little less. But then once we have the new swamp biome back after this event, I'm going to try to go in there and make that a little bit more interesting as well, so that some of these guys show up inside those different environments. So as you can see, it's kind of this fun idea that as you get the parts to build these different UV lamps, so currently it's not fully set up. Right now, I'm just spawning them in. But if you can imagine in the future actually going out and finding the parts and components to build out these UV lights and setting these up around your base will increasingly become more safe and allow you to farm and build up some of those defenses. And this is something I would always imagine and envision for these main bases anyway, that they would want help trying to actually reinforce I am working on one that allows you to place guards. I've not currently got that one fully fleshed out yet, but that one will be coming shortly as well, so that you could go on these walls and actually add some guards up to the towers and that kind of thing. I think that'll look pretty cool. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's go back in here and, say for example, do you guys hate having to run all the way back into this base every single time you want? I'm gonna have to do it because I threw down two of those stash kits. But kind of the idea is that if you don't want to have to travel all the way back in here every time to get this stash kit, you could place some around the outer perimeter and continue to access your stash and make that something a little bit more useful than only in those sleeping zones. So let's go ahead and do another base building. We'll grab that and bring that out front. So it's going to be our stash. Oh. So for this, we're going to go in here and actually set up this stash. If we can do it inside these walls, I'm pretty sure we can. It's not letting me throw it down, so, depending on if you care or not, you could place it outside these city walls as well. But it's one of those deals of maybe you don't, maybe you do. It's kind of personal preference. But now we have access to our stash right out here outside the base if we ever want to get to that. So let's talk about the next thing that's been done. So for each and every update, for all custom content created by myself for I Am Legion Reborn, it is now available for Patreon supporters. Again, thank you guys for your support. I've made that to where if you have donated to me on Patreon, if you've done a server boost or you've donated money elsewhere, please reach out to me and let me know. I do want to get you the auto updater. I want to get you some of this other content, add you onto the list for the Patreon, whatever I can do to make sure that you guys are actually getting something for the donations you made. Again, I appreciate that. So for these different objects, basically why this took so long is because before it really took a long time going item by item and trying to update some of these things to where I was able to go in there and create the different armor sets and that kind of thing, but I was still having to create one at a time, and it was incredibly time consuming. And I ended up not having as much time to go in here and balance, mainly because I was trying to figure out a way to get the names and the descriptions to show how I wanted them to. As some of you have pointed out, I still have all lowercase, and I'm not able to fix that currently. I am aware, it's super frustrating, but continuing to look into that. So as I'm getting more prepared and as I have more things working out and working well for me, I'm now able to actually get access to all these different armors, and that is really, really increased my ability of going in here and dialing in some of those things. So for example, here's an example of the PK armor. So if you're using the Patreon link, you should have access to all these different things. I did change the icons back on these things to the dog tags. I did set them to the zone logo, but I think now with so much content specific to spawning and all this other stuff, I'm going to have to start to find more and more icons or start injecting my own. And so for now, these have gone back to dog tags. I also found a major bug in the game code that it's basically it's like if you try to provide too much information for these armors, it starts to become an issue where it like gets hung up on a armor somewhere in the game, and that stops all the other armors from really getting assigned their different attributes and that kind of thing. So a lot of people have been discussing, and somebody mentioned the other day something along the lines of, are these armors just for looks? Absolutely not. These armors are meant to be fully stand-ins as just as good as this other armor. I'm currently working on creating custom attributes, custom skills, custom buffs for each and every individual piece of armor. That includes having a class system of light, medium, and heavy armor. I haven't gotten a chance to get it all implemented, but once that starts to hit the ground, this type of system, I can essentially use my own Patreon tools for testing, and that will save me a lot of time just because I automatically have a way that I can access all my own content. So let's go ahead and pull in some of this new PK armor. And for those of you who are new to the mod, you guys can kind of see what some of that looks like. So for each one of these, you should now have a custom name for each one. So we should have better descriptors. It will also now have proper skills showing underneath, so you should start to get more. The reason this is so stacked high is because this is considered a legendary tier armor. And so there are, to be clear, this is what happens if I do this, so I might as well just show you. If you try to access all of the armor, some of these are like 60, 80 pieces of armor when you do this. So this is what that'll look like if you don't have enough room in your storage. You essentially, actually that wasn't so bad because it wasn't in the interior, but essentially for every piece of armor, especially for the PK, I am trying to create quality variants. And so just because I'm showing you what it is for the legendary does not mean that's what it looks like when you find it. So for example, as you look at the different ones, you should now have some descriptors there. So you should have something like worn instead of like, so you have like worn and used. Another one is pristine. So pristine is actually a tier before legendary. And then let's see. So it was worn is lowest tier white, used is green tier, fresh is blue, violet is the standard. So for whatever the name is of that gear, it won't have any custom, it won't have a name, it'll just be the name of the armor if it's violet. If it goes up to the gold tier, then it's going to be called that's when it's going to be called, it did the leather ones instead. I wonder if I accidentally clicked on the leather ones or the leather ones have the wrong icon. But so this is all the leather armor. So this, I can just show you guys what I'm talking about. So all the white tier will be called worn, and then it'll go up to leather, and then it'll go up to fresh, then it'll go to the standard, and then it'll go to pristine. I have not had a chance to go through all of the different leather pieces. What I have had a chance to do is go through and say whether or not it is a torso, whether it's a helmet, that kind of thing. So that detail has been added, but I have not had a chance to go in there and add descriptions to each and every armor set or each and every armor piece. I have done that today for the PK armor. So the difference here is that as you go through, you should have some more descriptive names. I haven't done it for everything, but I did try to. I mean, it's a lot of time. If you guys see an armor kit that you like and you want a specific name, I am also completely down with you guys sending me your ideas for your names. Just include a picture of the specific armor and and the icon kind of thing in the name, and I would be more than happy to try to get in some of those name changes and stuff. If you have one that you think would be really realistic or really interesting inside the game. But for each one of these, I did try to go through and set them up to where they are realistically based. So damages, defenses, all that good stuff should be set up pretty well, so that you should get some pretty interesting armor combinations now when you're loading out your character. I think PK is one of my favorite armor sets now, and then also the military armor set, which I've also gone through and cleaned up a lot of that code today. So these are starting to dial in more slowly. Slowly getting there. If you guys continue to see any that you're like, this doesn't quite look right, I need to let them know. By all means, please let me know if you're seeing any of these that that they don't make sense, or they're broken, or they don't look right. I need more help trying to figure out what's working and what's not working, and so happy to field your guys' feedback and figure out how we can get these set up. If anybody's interested in trying to help me name all these armors, please reach out to me and let me know. I'd be more than happy to try to set everything up on a Google Drive or some type of Google document where we can all work together to go in there and add notes and that kind of thing. At this point, with armor alone, it's around 836 custom pieces of armor. Um, some of those are based on the color set, and so I think without the color set, it's somewhere around 300 different pieces, 300 to 400 different pieces of armor. And so that's a lot of armor to go in there and have to create custom names for. And so it is just something that slowly but surely we'll get there. But let me go ahead and grab another armor set and show that off. So one of the things, as I mentioned, everything is now available for the Patreon supporters, which means that some of the armor sets that have not even made it into the game, as far as into the spawn list, you will now have access to those through here. And so, if you are interested in that kind of thing, or you want early access to all the different armor sets, again, it's all accessible now through here. So, if you want access, I would love your feedback, and I'd love for you guys to try these out. Again, it's one of those things where here, after this holiday event, it'll be a little bit easier to go in and and actually get access to some of these, because they are currently using the world spawns. I am also trying to get these set up to where they're going to use the traders as well. And so, but that's not currently implemented, so it's going to take a little bit more time. I'm also looking at trying to set up a custom trader that you can find out in the world and that kind of thing that will have some of these things. So looking for your guys' feedback there. So as I mentioned, each and every object should have been named properly, should have a lot of these updated things. I'm tempted to just go ahead and let's just go back to the menu. At this point, there's so many different items that it's not worth it. But if you have specific kits that you would like me to create as well, if you're a Patreon supporter, please reach out. I'm happy to try to create kind of like early start, kits and that kind of thing. So you're not bringing that many objects into the game, because once you start doing that, it's all set up to the config now, so you can go in there and expand your config for your stash and for your things that you can hold. But it still is just a lot to manage once you start spawning in all those armors. So for that's why I've tried to create the orange tier. So if you just want all of the legendary tier items, you can go to the orange tier items. For every single set, there is a orange tier that you can use. And looks like this one's got some old, outdated files baked into it now. So this may happen to some of you guys. Again, it's one of those things where, no, this looks like this one actually might be a bug that I have to fix before I push out. Well, that's why we do this now. But essentially, some of these, like for example, this is one that I've been using for lots of testing. And so, I'm going to make sure that there's no bugs in here before we release here in a second. But I will just mention that that does happen on occasion when I do these kind of updates, because I'm changing names, I'm changing different values. And so that it can occur. So for each one of these, they should now have, when you do the play the zombie, they should now actually have names that properly say what they are, and they should also make sure to tell you things like, so when you do these bundles for play the zombie, some of these are actually unlocking the skins inside your outfit section as well. So for example, up here at the top, if you want to unlock all of the legendary skins that I've created for the characters, and you do so, you click that, it will actually just unlock those skins down here in the outfit section. So if you're doing play the zombie, it will unlock that icon down there, and that will set up your outfit. And then from here, you can press X to change that outfit. And then from here, you can actually just grab that armor as well. So I think each one of these things should be here, here, and here. And currently the idea here is you just have to make sure that you have the skin equipped before putting on the armor, just because it won't work correctly if you don't have the actual skeleton swapped out. And I was noticing the other day that for some of these, it looks like they may have updated some of the skeleton information, with this latest update. I did notice that some of them appear like there is some new glitching and that kind of thing. But for the most part, everything appears to be running well. Please let me know what you guys are seeing. I'm happy to patch those things and fix them as we go. All right, guys, thank you so much. I'm going to try to keep this a little bit shorter here. Like I said, probably well over 8 hours worth of work today. Thank you guys again so much for your support. I really appreciate it. I look forward to the upcoming features, and let me know your guys' feedback and comments. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.